Good evening and welcome to the council meeting for Monday, May 11th, 2026. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem and a moment of reflection.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please be seated. At this time, I will look to Councillor Dodge to read the land acknowledgement.
The land on which council meets tonight is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabeg, and Attinewandik, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations people, many of whom continue to live and work here today. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada Treaties and is within the land protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this gathering place is home to many Indigenous peoples made up of First Nation, Inuit, and Métis. The Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement should remind us of our responsibility to ensure the Dish, the territories in which we live and work, is never emptied, and that we take care of the land and its inhabitants in a way that ensures its future sustainability.
Thank you, Councillor Dodge. Welcome to our meeting for May 11th. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I do have a lengthy mayor's report tonight, but before we do that, I think we're going to jump right to the end of it, and we're going to recognize a special group of people who are here in the room. So at this time, I would ask Acting Chair, Mayor of Wainfleet, Brian Grant, to come on up to the lectern with me, and we will honor the Ridley boys basketball team. I like to show off when my friends from Wainfleet come. It is my pleasure to have the opportunity to reflect on the outstanding accomplishments of the 2025-2026 Ridley College Prep Boys basketball team. This year's team embodied everything that represents excellence in school sport: commitment, resilience, discipline, teamwork, and character. Throughout the season, these young men consistently demonstrated an unwavering dedication to improvement, both individually and collectively, while competing against some of the top preparatory basketball programs in Canada and the United States. Competing in the highly competitive Ontario Scholastic Basketball Association, OSBA, National Preparatory Association, NPA, and Grind Session Leagues, the team faced elite competition all season long. Through extensive travel, demanding schedules, and high-pressure games, the boys continued to grow together, developing a strong identity built on defensive intensity, accountability, and selflessness. One of the defining moments of the season came early with an impressive OSBA victory over perennial powerhouse Fort Erie International Academy, a performance that established the standard for the team's defensive mindset and competitive potential. From there, the team represented Ridley College and the city of St. Catharines with pride at NPA competition in Calgary, Alberta, as well as grind session events in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Los Angeles, California. As the season progressed, the team continued to build momentum and ultimately delivered an extraordinary championship run. Although the boys fell just short in the OSBA finals, earning a silver medal as defending champions, they responded with tremendous resilience and determination. Their perseverance culminated in the ultimate achievement, capturing the National Preparatory Association National Championship and earning recognition as the top high school basketball team in Canada. The accomplishments of this remarkable team include the 2025-26 NPA National Champions, OSBA finalists and silver medalists, first place OSBA West Division regular season finish, and an overall record of 44 wins and 11 losses. The team also earned significant individual recognition throughout the season. Caleb Roberts was named National Finals MVP, OSBA Most Valuable Player, NPA First Team All-Star, OSBA First Team All-Star, and received all Canadian honors. Quentin Etier earned NPA Second Team All-Star and OSBA Third Team All-Star recognition. CJ Roberts was named NPA Defensive Player of the Year, and Caleb, Quentin, and Callum Smith were all selected to participate in the NPA All-Star Game. Special recognition must also be given to head coach Victor Rasso. His leadership, passion, and unwavering belief in his players were instrumental to the success of this group. He served as the guiding force behind the team's culture, helping these young men grow not only as athletes, but as leaders and outstanding representatives of Ridley College and our community. Most importantly, this team balanced the demands of elite athletics and academics with maturity, discipline, and integrity. They represented Ridley College and the city of St. Catharines with tremendous pride wherever they competed, and this team truly created lasting memories together and achieved something very special. Their journey serves as an inspiration to young athletes throughout our community, so congratulations to every player, coach, and staff member on an unforgettable championship season. First of all, let's give a round of applause to these young men. Now, I will share, Coach Rasso is not able to be here this evening. He is actually away with one of his players. I will mention that when the championship was won, I sent him a text message and I said, Coach, there are easier ways to get an invitation to City Hall than continually winning championships. And he thought that was pretty funny, but he has been here a number of times with championship winning basketball teams, and so we appreciate the contributions of Coach Rasso to the basketball community here in St. Catharines. At this time, I'm going to call up each of the players individually to receive a scroll from the City of St. Catharines, and then Mayor Grant, Acting Chair Grant, has a certificate on behalf of the region for the entire of the team, so we'll pose for a photo at that time. So I will start with Carter Etier. St. Catharines' own Carter Etier. Number 1, CJ Roberts. Number 3, Jackson Baker. Number 5, Demir Ostaprak. Griffin McDonald. Number 10, Omar Hijazi is not here. Number 12, Noah Simon Casson. Not here? All right. Number 13, Daniel Meisner. Quentin Etier, number 15. I didn't say St. Catharines' own with that one because Quentin's been here before. I think we all know that by now. Number 22, Julien Ligonde Leclerc. Number 23, Caleb Roberts is not here. And number 24, Callum Smith. Hayden King Nickel. Dominic Akpan. As I mentioned, Vic Rasso's not here this evening. Assistant coaches, Joel Friesen. Josh Doan. Brandon DeRazio. And finally, last but not least, Nick Ronald. All right, so just a couple of points. I made this joke, and I'm sure some of you heard it. There are very few times in my life when I feel short, but I feel like tiny compared to the rest of you guys. I've made this comment in the past. I will make it again here. What Ridley College has created with their basketball program is really fantastic. So just on behalf of council and the community, thank you so much, guys. You have done a phenomenal job of representing the city incredibly well on the international stage. And it means a great deal to all of us that you put in the time and the effort that you do. I have coached high school sports for years. I know that at the level you're playing at, The level of coaching is significantly better than anything I could ever offer, but the level of effort that you have to put in to be able to compete at that level is also significantly higher. So on behalf of the city, congratulations and very well done. We're going to try and do a group photo. I'm not even sure how we're going to do it because you guys are enormous. We're going to take a 5-minute break. I know that Acting Chair Grant has a certificate for the team as well from the Regional Municipality of Niagara. But one more time before we take a 5-minute break, can we get a round of applause for the Ridley College team? And with that, we will take a 5-minute break, 3-minute break. We'll try to be back in 10. Thanks, folks. And we are back. I do appreciate council's indulgence there to be able to take a few photos. It really is fantastic, a fantastic group of young men who have done a really incredible job over the last couple of years of representing St. Catharines internationally. So it's always fun to have them back. I also want to say very quickly a big thank you to Acting Regional Chair Brian Grant. As you know, the regional chair position is rotating through council at this time. This month, May, is Mayor Grant from Waynfleet, and I appreciate the fact that he took the time to come up from Waynfleet to be able to present to the Ridley College team. I think that was very, very good of him and good of the region. We have, as I said, a fairly lengthy mayor's report, but I know council has a number of things they want to add to it as well. I want to start off with a big thank you. On May 2nd, we celebrated 150 years of incorporation as the City of St. Catharines with a community celebration in Montebello Park. I want to thank everybody who came out to help us celebrate, and to the city staff and the community partners who helped make it all happen. As part of that celebration, we unveiled an interpretive panel in the Rose Garden celebrating the contributions of William Bartlett Burgoyne, a three-term mayor of St. Catharines who believed deeply in civic beautification and invested in making our city more beautiful for generations to come. On a personal note, I will say I walked up to the event at about 11:15 on the Saturday morning, wondering what the turnout would look like. It was a little bit chilly, but it was also sunny, and it was fantastic to see that people were already in the park. I think the staff estimate during the day was about 3,000 residents came through. I know the hot dog line stretched all the way across the park for a good part of the day, but we fed a lot of people. The cupcakes were a hit. The merchandise flew off the shelves, which was fantastic. And I've started seeing the 150 logo popping up around town, which is actually really cool to see. So I do want to just express thanks again to all the staff who made this event happen. It's not something that falls on anybody's desk. It's very much a side of the desk project for everybody who was involved, but they really made a fantastic, did a fantastic job of it. I will just point out, I remarked to Mr. Christie during the day, obviously CRCS was intimately involved, and I said, the 150th was fantastic. I can't wait for the 151st. So I'll let him get started on the planning for that now. Some local events that took place over the last couple of weeks. On April 28th, we marked the National Day of Mourning with ceremonies across the city hosted by the Niagara Regional Labor Council. The day gives us an opportunity for us to remember the workers who have died or been injured on the job, while at the same time, they renew our shared commitment to fostering a safe and healthy workplace for all. I want to thank Councillor Dodge for joining me at the early morning ceremonies out at Lock 3 and the Welland Canal. So that was appreciated. The DSBN Heritage Fair was in late April. I had a chance to take part in judging at the Heritage Fair hosted at the St. Catharines Museum in the Welland Canal Center. There was a wide array of projects covering many different topics. I judged projects about the Welland Canal, Cosmic Canadians, which was about the space program in Canada, the Italian internment camps, which I didn't know was a thing, and also the Pig War. And if you don't know what the Pig War was, it was a real thing that happened in Canada back in the 1800s, right around the Civil War in the US. Very impressed with the projects. It got me to scratch the teacher itch a little bit and mark things, which was always fun. But I want to thank the museum for hosting and to the DSBN for putting on an awesome event. On April 29th, we officially kicked off the Folk Arts Festival with a flag raising here in Council Chambers, followed by the Ambassadors Ball on April 30th. This is the 58th year of the festival, and community open houses are in full swing. I want to say thank you to Club LaSalle, the Islamic Society, the Canadian Polish Society, the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress of Niagara, as well as, I believe, Hindu Samaj, the migrant workers. There have been a number of amazing open houses hosting the community with celebrations of culture, food, and dance. I look forward to the rest of the community open houses over the course of the month. We have Club Heidelberg tomorrow night. I was forced to promise that I would be at Club Heidelberg by one of the residents at the Ukrainian Hall, so I will see folks out at Club Heidelberg tomorrow night. You can visit NiagaraFolkArtsFestival.ca for a full list of dates and times. Earlier this month, I joined Duncan and Elijah Lufili of the Niagara River Lions to refresh the mesh at St. Patrick's Park. A special thanks to Elijah for hanging the mesh and allowing me to supervise this year, because in previous years when I've actually had to go up on the ladder, it has not been pretty. Looking forward to returning to the Lions Den to raise another championship banner to kick off the start of the 2026 season on May 29th at the Meridian Center. On May 1st, I was pleased to join the Niagara Children's Centre to help kick off their 2026 Help Kids Shine campaign. Goal for this year is to raise $350,000 to expand therapy and support services for children and youth across Niagara. I want to thank all the many sponsors who've already stepped up to support the cause. A special shout out to the O'Hara family for answering the call to match the first $25,000 in donations. We have an opportunity. Check out helpkidsshine.ca. May 1st also marked the start of Community Living Month, and together with our friends at Community Living, we raised the flag at City Hall to recognize the important work they do in our community. You will notice it outside. It is the biggest flag we have right now. Community Living works to ensure people with intellectual disabilities have the support they need to live fulfilling lives and be active members of our community. And I'm looking forward to joining the Community Living folks for their ice cream social later this month and their hot dog lunch this summer. Last week, we were proud to raise a flag at City Hall in recognition of Children's Mental Health Awareness Week and to stand alongside Pathstone Mental Health in support of youth across Niagara. The flag raising was a reminder that young people deserve to feel supported and know they are not alone. Sometimes small acts of visibility can make a meaningful difference. That's why we're encouraging residents to take part in the Pathstone Porch Light Challenge this May by switching your porch light to green. May is also Brain Tumor Awareness Month in Canada, and the gray ribbon is used to raise awareness. You'll see I'm wearing one of those now, and I know ribbons were left for counselors, and some of them have those on as well. The Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada has shared that every day 27 Canadians will hear the words, "You have a brain tumor." It is a devastating diagnosis for patients and families, and awareness helps encourage understanding, research, and support. As someone who has had a family member diagnosed with a brain tumor, I am very thankful for the work that they do in raising awareness and also raising funds that go to research that can help people survive brain tumors, as was the case in my family. We were very blessed. Last week, Great Lakes St. Lawrence Cities Initiative hosted their annual general meeting in Hamilton. This was our opportunity here in Southern Ontario to host the conference. As some may remember, about 5 years ago, St. Catharines was the host of the AGM. I was asked as the co-chair if I wanted to bring it back to St. Catharines, and then we realized that we couldn't make any of the dates work. So we wound up in Hamilton, and it was actually a fantastic couple of days in Hamilton. There were a lot of really great announcements, including Minister Todd McCarthy, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, announcing a $1.5 million program for communities in Ontario to be able to access funding for shoreline restoration and other project works in Southern Ontario. Members of the Cities Initiative will have access to those funds, and we appreciated having Minister McCarthy there. He then got in his car, drove down the highway, and came to St. Catharines and Niagara, and he visited Niagara in his capacity as the acting Minister of Infrastructure to announce that the province is investing nearly $44 million to help rehabilitate drinking water, wastewater, and stormwater infrastructure in the region. This investment includes $3.8 million for the Martindale Pond Weir rehabilitation project here in the city. The rehab of Martindale Pond Weir will help protect surrounding areas, maintain water levels in the pond, and preserve an important part of the landscape of St. Catharines for years to come. I want to thank the Deputy Mayor, Bill Phillips, for repping me at this announcement, and I want to thank the province for a much-needed investment. On Friday night, I joined councillors at the Dream at the Ravine Gala in support of Facts Niagara and their mission to protect, support, and strengthen the lives of children, youth, and families in our community. The highlight of the evening was hearing the incredible story of Betsy Witteveen, who was recently celebrated for more than 50 years of service as a foster parent. Over the past half century, Betsy has cared for well over 200 children and youth, and an extraordinary legacy of compassion, commitment, and love. So I want to thank Betsy and all the families who have opened their homes to children who need it most. For those who are keeping score, Betsy Witteveen is the mother of Regional Councillor Albert Witteveen. On Saturday morning, I had the pleasure of joining residents of Ina Grafton and the surrounding neighborhood to plant 150 trees to celebrate 150 years of the city in Walker's Creek Park. The idea came forward from the Ina Grafton residents, and together in partnership with the Port Dalhousie Tree Trust, Friends of Walker's Creek, the MPCA and the city made this community planting event possible. I want to thank everyone who stepped up and helped with the planting and for helping to grow the urban canopy in the city. And a special thank you to Mike Kraft, our development horticultural technician, for his support in bringing together all the community partners to make the event possible. After the tree planting event, I was pleased to bring greetings at the Walk and Roll event in support of muscular dystrophy at Lakeside Park. The event raises funds to help individuals affected by neuromuscular disorders get the right diagnosis and access treatment as early as possible. I encourage everyone to sign the national petition to demand faster, fairer access to neuromuscular treatments and break down barriers that delay life-changing care. Visit the MD Canada website for more information. After the walk and roll, I headed over to the Lincoln Welland Regiment's annual Family Day event. This was held at the Niagara Military Heritage Center in Niagara Falls. And the event was a great opportunity to see the museum, check out the military vehicles, and meet Lincoln Welland Regiment soldiers, veterans, and their families to thank them for their service. I want to thank Lieutenant Colonel Dyson for hosting the event, and thanks to the Lincoln Welland Band for providing the wonderful music as always. As part of my ongoing Marylink visits, I visited with the team from Biolese Pharma, located at 59 Welland Vale. What began with the development of a molecule found in a plant extract has grown into a company producing treatments used in the fight against cancer, specifically for lung, ovarian, and breast cancer. Biolese employs over 40 local residents and produces a cancer medication, Gesundheit, that supplies about 70% of the Canadian market, while also supporting patients in more than a dozen countries around the world. Thank you for hosting us and for the important work that you're doing to fight against cancer right here in our own backyard. I want to give congratulations to the owners of Habari, a clothing store located at 261 Martindale Road. The family-run store is proud to bring together affordable, high-quality fashion for men, women, and children while giving great clothing a second life. Thank you for investing in St. Catharines, and congratulations on your opening. On Saturday, Councillor McPherson and I were pleased to attend the opening of Patience Bitondo's Atelier, located in downtown St. Catharines. Patience is a talented fashion designer and the founder of a luxury atelier dedicated to identity, cultural expression, storytelling, and craftsmanship. I first had the opportunity to meet Patience at a Bridges Niagara market event at the PAC in 2023 when she was just starting out, and it is amazing to see how far she has come in the last few years to the point where she is now opening her own fashion studio. So congratulations, Patience, on this exciting milestone. Congratulations is also due to one of our own, Craig Mustard, manager of Realty Services here at the city, who was recently named the International Right-of-Way Association's Professional of the Year. The IRWA supports more than 7,500 professionals across 15 countries working in right-of-way, infrastructure, public works, transportation, utilities, and land acquisition. So congratulations to him on this well-deserved honor. And a special congratulations to our very own Councillor Matt Harris, who was recently named a top 20 Penguin for his support of the Brock Niagara Penguins as they celebrate 20 years as an organization. Matt's been involved since day one with his fundraising efforts and long-term support of the club, and he is to be commended for that. Congratulations, Councillor Harris. Finally, some upcoming events. I promise, Councillor Harris, I am almost done. Upcoming events. The long weekend is here, and there are all kinds of things happening in the city, amenities that are opening. This Saturday, there will be a ribbon cutting at the Carousel in Port Dalhousie, and I already know which councillors I will definitely see there, as our Port councillors always show up for this amazing event. I have no doubt a good chunk of council will be there. As I said, we're kicking it off at 11 a.m. with the ribbon cutting. The Animal Pen at Happy Rolf's will also be opening this weekend on Saturday. There will be a soft opening this Saturday of Sunset Beach with some finishing touches still required, including the playground, but the beach will be open to residents, so we encourage folks to get out for that. City splash pads at Bogart Street Park, Catherine Street Park, Secord Woods Park, Lester B. Pearson Park, and West Park will be open for the season starting Friday, May 15th. They'll be open daily from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. for the summer. The market will be expanding during harvest season. Live music will be returning on Saturday, May 16th to kick off summer at the St. Catharines Farmers Market. It's open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Saturday. The Farmers Market will now expand outside with more vendors and more fun all summer long, including engagement series on Saturdays. And of course, the golf course is now open for the season. I hope to see everybody out and about this fantastic long weekend coming up. At this time, I will open it up to council. I know many of us want to talk about all the different places we've been during what we have decided is now called Stretchy Pants season, as the Folk Arts Festival requires the use of stretchy pants. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I attended the open house at the Polish Society with my colleague, Councillor Mark Stevens. Councillor Bruce Williamson was there. You were there as well, Mayor Sisko. Am I forgetting anyone else that was there that maybe I missed on the way out? But thank you to the Polish Society for putting on a great event, as always. And I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lindell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last week, MPP Jenny Stevens rose in the House to congratulate Fire Chief Dave Upper on 35 years of service in St. Catharines. He's been a great ambassador for our fire department, and I just wanted to double recognize how amazing that man is for us.
Agreed. Councillor Ratzlaff.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, I had the pleasure to provide remarks on behalf of the mayor and council at Father Danny's induction at St. Thomas Anglican Church last week. And then 2 events coming up. We have the Great Fits Garage Sale happening May 30th in Midtown here, and then Hague Neighbors has their annual team spelling bee this weekend on the 16th. This is the first year that I'm going to be trying my hand at spelling. I am not a great speller, though, so we'll see how it goes.
It's the attempt that's the important thing. Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was able to represent you on Thursday where all the Rotary Clubs of St. Catharines got together to celebrate the annual Paul Harris Awards, which go to various people who are gone beyond as far as volunteering in the community is concerned. And one lady, Mary Markarian, who was a teacher at Sir Winston at one time, very involved in sailing and rowing in St. Catharines, was given that award. And Scott Hill, as well as Cat's Caboose. Cat's Caboose was the company, if you want, that was designated as the company of the year as far as giving back to the community and being a social hub, if you want, in St. Catharines, and Scott, being the manager, was also given an award. So congratulations to them, and thanks to Rotary for doing that. They indicated that the money that is raised to Rotary International goes to trying to eradicate polio, and they are at about 99% plus of achieving that award or that result. So congratulations to them. They have 1.2 million members of Rotary worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On Wednesday the 29th, I represented yourself and council to the Boys and Girls Club AGM, and we were, as a donor to them, a supporter, we had this nice rock. It's actually in a heart shape too, which is nice. They had these on the centerpiece, and they had the City of St. Catharines, City of Niagara Falls, Province of Ontario, and so we're the foundations that helped their club. And then above it, they had another container with smaller rocks that were painted by their clients, some of the youth in that. So it was a really cool thing that they had done, and it's kind of nice that ours ended up being a heart shape too. So that was a good night for that, and congratulations to the Boys and Girls Club and all the wonderful work they do around here. And then, of course, the Ambassadors Ball. I think Councillor Townsend mentioned it. We were there. Councillor Townsend, Councillor Lindau, Councillor McPherson. A great event held at the Polish Society this year, and I think they they've set the bar a little high there, because there was a lot of cultural dance and then a lot of stuff for the youth. And usually people leave after supper, and people stuck around till 9 o'clock. So I think it was a well-attended, well-planned event, and that's ongoing. On the 1st, I got to go to community care, and we raised a flag. They raised a flag for St. Catharines 150, but they also, there are about 107 years of partnership with the City of St. Catharines. So we had a little St. Catharines flag raising at community care there with all their staff and that, so that was nice. And the airport had a GNCC Niagara Business Leadership Series held at the airport to explain all the planning and everything that's going on at Niagara District Airport, and well attended. And anybody that wants to know what's going on at the airport should check out their website. Or if you have a community group or anything, you can call up the airport, and Dan will come and talk to your group and explain what all the great plans are out there for Niagara District Airport. Also, I gotta get my glasses. Last Saturday, at the Grantham Trail and Linwell Road, a group of former Grantham High School students, one's from 1977 to 1982, but it was open to all groups. They've started a Fallen Gators Memorial website, actually, and so done through a Facebook page and everything. Kurt Skeen was the one that started it, and it was all done through donations by former students. We did a memorial bench, and actually it's marked too, and it's called fallengators.ca, and you can go on that page, and any of the people that you knew, and there's like 75 that have passed away from school back in the day, and some were even when we were in school. Councillor Williamson, student there as well, and he was there, and very touching. There's about 30 people showed up for that, so we all stay in touch through Facebook, so it's a pretty good community. And there was enough money raised that I think we're talking about doing a bursary for either Holy Cross or Governor Simcoe, because from the public school, all the stuff from Grantham went over to Governor Simcoe. And last but not least, 7 open houses so far, folk arts, and Mark has been at all 7.
Did you just refer to yourself in the third person? Don't ever do that again. The stretchiest of the stretchy pants. Before I move on to the next counselor, I did miss one thing, and I'm amazed that I missed it because it was actually some of the most significant news we've heard in quite a while. A big thank you to General Motors Canada, who announced a major investment, $691 million to support the next generation V8 engine production at the St. Catharines propulsion plant. This is a reaffirmation of St. Catharines' role as a part of Canada's advanced manufacturing sector. GM's been a part of the community for more than 100 years. It's been a key contributor to the broader Niagara region, and this means that St. Catharines will continue to be a key node in General Motors' North American manufacturing network for truck and SUV propulsion systems. So thank you to GM, thank you to Jack Uppel, the GM Canada president. Councillor Mako.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our Port Dalhousie Lions Club hosts a very successful monthly pasta dinner, which Councillor Williamson and I often frequent. But something a bit special happened last week. I don't know why. The organizer told me it was the most well-attended ever, with almost 400 attendees. And so the organizer asked me just to say thank you on behalf of our Lions Club for all the community members who come. It's not just Port Dalhousie members who come. So I did want to give a special shout out to Councillor Stevens, the Mark, as he refers to himself, for coming and diversifying his palate beyond fish fries, I thought was an accomplishment. So thank you, Councillor Stevens, for stopping by. This Saturday is actually a busy day in Port Dalhousie. We have the Carousel grand opening, as you mentioned, Mayor, at 11. Then at 11:30, Locanta Mediterranean has its restaurant official grand opening, which is going to be delicious. And then the afternoon, we have a ribbon cutting for the Christie Street Stairs, which I know my predecessor, Carlos Garcia, was a big advocate for, as well as Councillor Williamson. So if you're in the wonderful village of Port Dalhousie on Saturday, 3 different events to get your attention. I don't know if we've done a stairs ribbon cutting before, Mr. Mayor, but that's something new we're trying as well. Thank you.
I will cut the ribbon at anything. Councillor Williamson.
Well, thank you. First, to add on to Councillor Stevens' discussion about the memorial bench that this Grantham High School group put together. Also in attendance were 4 really great former teachers, Mr. Bickle, Mr. Hughes, Mr. Moyer, and Mr. Gamble. So it was really great to see them there. On Saturday, at one of only probably 2 churches where you could have pierogi mascot heads at the entrance. In this case, it's St. John Ukrainian Church on Lakeshore Road. They had their folk arts open house. Councillor Dodge was there, Councillor Lindell, Councillor Stevens, of course, Mayor Sisko, and Councillor Mako gave his regrets because he was at, I think, hopefully his last well, not hopefully, one of the last dance recitals of the season. And of course, they did their usual great job, food and dance and costumes and everything else. They also had a very special tribute, a very poignant and interesting display in the actual parish depicting the tragedy, or relaying the tragedy of what's happening in Ukraine. So that was, it was mixed emotions to be there on Saturday. So thank you for those who came along, and thanks who are supporting the cause.
Thank you, Councillor Williamson. Councillor Miller.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, Councillor Miller, just wanted to add one thing quickly. Last week, the province recognized volunteer service awards, and including one for St. Catharines' own Bob Miller, which he didn't even tell his own children about. So I found out about through someone else. So congratulations to Bob and all the volunteers. That was for his 20 years of service to the Alzheimer's Society. So congrats to all, and I'm sure there's some other Niagara residents in there as well.
Mayor Cisco is pleased. It doesn't even sound right, Mark. Like, how do you do that with a straight face? All right, I believe that is the end of the mayor's report for this evening. 6:46 is a record even for us. I will look now to the clerk for the adoption of the agenda.
The clerk is advising there's no amendments to the agenda.
Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Dodge, Councillor McPherson. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion the council adopt the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 27th, 2026. Councillor Stevens, Councillor Lindell, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Any declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, a motion to move the consent agenda, or move the consent reports. The motion is on the screen that we move and approve the consent agenda, save and accept those items brought forward for discussion. Moving the motion to approve, I have, who wants to move the consent? Councillor Mako. Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to quickly just, I don't want to pull it, I just want to comment on 6.1 because I don't know if anyone's pulled it. I don't want to pull it. I just want to comment. I want to thank Director York and his team for putting that together. It gives council a better understanding of the challenges with the courthouse. So I just want to give a shout out to Director York on that report. It really does highlight the opportunities and the options that will be coming forward down the road. So thank you for that. I do want to pull 6.3. I do just have a few questions about that. It's in regards to, well, I just want to pull it and have a few questions. Thank you.
Okay, so item 6.3 will be moved to discussion. And I will just say, Councillor, I appreciate that, and it's maybe a note going forward. Councillors, when there's something on the consent agenda and you don't actually want to pull it, but you would just like to make a brief comment, we do that at the region for consent agenda. It's totally appropriate. So if councillors want to do that going forward, I appreciate Councillor Townsend choosing to do it that way. But I will look now. Well, no, we have the motion to approve the consent agenda as amended. So 6.3 has been moved off. I have a mover, so I will look to the clerk to read the consent agenda and then call the roll.
Today's consent agenda includes item 6.1, economic development and tourism services, potential uses for the former Lincoln County Courthouse at 101 King Street. Item 6.2, economic development and tourism services, property matter declares surplus 35 Junkin Street. And item 6.4, legal and clerk services, amend the agreement for intermunicipal agreement related to Vision Zero Amendment 3. Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson. Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
And that's carried.
All right, moving on to item 8.1, presentation by Niagara Region regarding the Transportation Master Plan. At this time, I will call upon Diana Moriali, the Director of Infrastructure Planning and Development, and Jill Stephen, Associate Director of Infrastructure and Planning, Infrastructure Planning, to present. Ms. Moriali is always very nice to me at the region when I ask bad or stupid questions, so I appreciate her.
However, we have to give him some grief because he's a Yankees fan.
There we go. There we go.
Maybe that was not the right way to start off this presentation.
I may cut your mic halfway through this. I don't know, but.
So good evening, Mayor Cisco and members of City of St. Catharines Council. I'd like to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to present the Transportation Master Plan update to you. Alongside with me is Jill Stevens. As mentioned, she's Associate Director of Infrastructure Planning with Niagara Region. And we are currently visiting all 12 municipalities, and St. Catharines is our first stop on this Transportation Master Plan tour. So thank you for your patience. We're going to work out some kinks tonight as we work through this presentation. So as mentioned, we're really here to talk about the overall Transportation Master Plan for the region. And Jill will go through the presentation more fulsome in the next coming slides. There we go. So the presentation is twofold. It's one to introduce the project to your council and its scope and our engagement plan, because we will be going out to the community shortly. And also it's to seek your input for the future transportations of your community and how to best support residents, employers, and visitors to 2051 and beyond. So I would also like to note that the CAOs across Niagara are currently undertaking a governance and service delivery review for Niagara. But no matter what happens through the governance or service delivery review, the regional transportation master plan work is still needed and remains important and necessary. The TMP will help identify and define the transportation network that connects Niagara's communities to one another, and it also how it connects Niagara to the broader region and our neighbors as well. So this work is also critical to understanding what investments and improvements are needed to support trade, tourism, and economic activity, and also to understand the daily mobility needs of our residents, employees, and business across Niagara to 2051. So again, thank you for the opportunity, and I'll now turn it over to Jill so she can provide more details.
Okay. So the regional road network, shown here in yellow, plays a huge role in how people and goods move every day in Niagara. It connects people to destinations, it connects communities, and it links the region to other municipalities and markets in Ontario and beyond, through connections to the provincial highway network and through connections to rail, marine, air, and our border crossings. The regional network is only one part of the picture, though. Our 2051 Niagara Transportation Plan will focus on the regional network, but the plan also needs to support the regional network's role in the broader transportation system across the local, regional, provincial, and federal levels. Each level plays a different role in how people and goods move. And generally speaking, our local networks enable the neighborhood and daily travel needs, the trips to school, the trips to parks, shops, services, and those roads feed into the regional roads. Generally, local roads are often two-lane streets with lower speed limits, sidewalks, cycling connections, and on-street parking. The regional network focuses on connecting communities. It includes the main corridors that support goods movement and regional vehicle and transit and active transportation travel and mobility across Niagara. Regional roads are typically higher volume arterials and include space for transit and cycling along key corridors. The provincial network supports longer distance travel. Highways such as QEW and Highway 406, along with GO Transit, move people and goods between Niagara and the rest of Ontario. And the federal network, focusing on national and international movement, such as the Welland Canal, border crossings, airports, freight rail, all shape Niagara's role in trade and tourism. As we develop the Transportation Master Plan towards 2051, our focus will be on the regional network while staying closely connected to what is happening across the other networks. Niagara Region's first Transportation Master Plan was completed in 2017. It's nearly 10 years old, and it's time for a new plan. The Transportation Master Plan provides the direction and first-level analysis of our long-term transportation needs as we grow. It shows how projects fit together across the network by identifying where new infrastructure is required and confirming how different elements of the system work together as a whole. The transportation plan ensures good planning by confirming that growth projects make sense for the regional network and giving us the evidence we need to advocate for provincial and federal investment. The TMP is a high-level roadmap for future transportation projects. It identifies the recommended projects, and following the TMP approval, projects then move through separate processes for detailed studies, design, construction, budgeting, and asset management work into the implementation, use, and long-term stewardship for a community. It's important to do transportation planning at different levels to reflect the different networks and responsibilities. But like the plans, like the networks, also need to remain connected. At a high level, both local and regional plans identify the infrastructure and projects needed to support different types of trips by different modes and into the future. But local plans such as the city's TMP and ATMP have a greater emphasis than the regional plan on supporting the trips within the community, on placemaking, walking, and parking, whereas the Niagara Transportation Plan will focus on intra-regional trips and broader networks to support driving and transit, goods movement, and cycling on the arterial roads. We're still at the early stages of the transportation plan study. Our vision statement will evolve based on the feedback we received during our phase 1 consultation, and then be finalized as we move out of the preliminary stages of the study and into the options and development of recommendations phases. The vision is important because it frames all of the work ahead of us, and it guides how we will assess needs and evaluate the transportation options through the transportation plan. I spoke earlier about the connections between the local and regional transportation plans. Drawing on the vision statements from plans such as the St. Catharines TMP and ATMP helps to bring the local context into the work of our plan. There are elements in these vision statements that are the same as the draft vision statement I just showed. And there are some elements that are different because the plans are different. They don't need to be identical vision statements, but the plans need to be built on an understanding of both of the common elements and common needs, as well as the unique elements of community character and priorities. Where a recommended project plan or program lies in the local TMP or in the Niagara Region Transportation Plan depends on the type, the scale, and the location of the project and our respective roles in supporting mobility and transportation. Niagara Transportation Plan has 3 phases. We're currently in phase 1, which is the phase in which we're identifying the problem and opportunities, reviewing how the system is performing, and confirming the vision and goals that will guide the rest of the study. At each phase of the project, there will be ongoing engagement with the public, the local municipalities through the staff teams, agencies, and other interested parties, as well as regional council. Our current work is focused on reviewing the different networks for active transportation, transit, the road network, and goods movement, updating our travel demand model to assess system performance and to help us model the system into the future, completing the policy and jurisdictional reviews for alignment, and preparing for our first round of public consultation. As we move into phase 2 later this year, we'll develop the different network alternatives for transit, active transportation, and goods movement, as well as looking at the overall road network, and then identify the preferred network and implementation strategy, including the 10-year capital program. As part of that work, there'll be a number of other supporting deliverables, such as the prioritization framework and the road rationalization framework that will be included in the final report. Road rationalization, in terms of the Niagara Transportation Plan, is an assessment of the characteristics and the criteria that define a regional road. In 2009, the region completed a transportation sustainability review, and a key output of that review was a list of the criteria against which roads would be evaluated to determine or confirm the appropriate jurisdiction for that road, and it really focused on the major arterial roads. As part of that review, some of the roads were then assessed using those criteria to determine if they should remain as regional roads or if they should be transferred. As part of our work on the Niagara TMP, we'll be reviewing the criteria to determine if they are still appropriate or if changes are needed to those criteria. Where there's work underway already looking at a particular road and its jurisdiction, that work will continue outside of the TMP, and it won't be paused to be incorporated into the TMP work. The engagement plan for the 2051 TMP includes a variety of different means and mechanisms to reach out to the public and different agencies at different stages of the project. We have a project email that is set up. Our project website is live and will be updated as we move into the PICs later in June. And we'll engage with the public, municipal staff, and other interested parties through those public information centers, meetings, presentations, and an online survey. And then we will continue to present to Transportation Strategy Steering Committee and Public Works Committee at key project milestones. We're at early stages of the study, and so far we have not been out to the public, but we have presented to Transportation Strategy Steering Committee, Public Works Committee, and held a council workshop in March. And this slide summarizes some of the key themes that we've heard so far, including engaging with businesses, working together with the province and other agencies, enhancing and ensuring that we have good direct engagement with the community, looking at our goods movement networks, looking at our active transportation networks, and also examining new mobility options. So as Diana mentioned off the top, over the next few months, we'll be presenting to local councils. That will take us into July to get to all 12 of the councils. We're holding our first public information centers in June. On June 9th, we'll be at the Seymour Hanna Sports and Entertainment Center, and on June 10th at the Welland Community Center. We're meeting with staff from local municipalities throughout the projects, and we have our first meeting with the Technical Agency Committee on Wednesday. And as I say, we'll continue to promote our project website and project email for awareness and feedback. And with that, I'd like to conclude the presentation. Thank you again for the opportunity to present tonight. And we'd be happy to take any questions about the plan.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. Councillor Williamson.
Thank you. Just kind of one comment to start with. We had a major rail accident on the CN line, which also closed the canal. I mean, it just, I think, shows us that the multiple levels of government and the private sector operators all can have an impact. And we do have this unique challenge of the canal and trying to get trains and vehicles across the canal. So, in one of your slides, you mentioned about the one of your roles is to advocate to provincial and federal levels of government. And this week we have scheduled, and I know the Grantham Ward councillors are familiar with this, and Councillor Dodge and Councillor Phillips have asked about this many times, is that they do not coordinate the closures of the bridges. We have 2 bridges going to be closed. I'm not sure what days it is. I guess it's not really a question, Mr. Mayor. It's just that we would appreciate your support in making this problem, or alleviate this problem in some ways, just by coordinating these bridge closures. So that leads me to, and I'm not going to get into a whole lot of detail because I realize this is a broad-based strategic plan with a 25-year horizon. I do hope that you take into account some of the history, and I'm sure that you will. My primary focus today, maybe because we're fresh off a trip to Toronto yesterday, which involved driving in the car down the Queen Elizabeth Way, parking in the Burlington GO train station, which a lot of people from Niagara do, and then get on the GO train and then try and navigate your way back with half-hour service, and then the express train back to Niagara. The one express train in the evening was canceled, which apparently is a routine thing. Anyway, the single-track section of line, CN line, between Jordan and Grimsby creates delays, redundancies. In other words, the ability of passenger trains to pass long and slow-moving freight trains. And as I'm sure you know, that freight trains get priority over passenger trains. So when passenger trains get stuck behind these slower, and some of these are massive freight trains that go through Niagara, they slow down. And there was, I went back to a previous regional presentation, and it stated that if Metrolinx were to take ownership of this line, they could immediately increase service to 9 daily round trips without, So that's a statement, and I think it's probably not necessarily grounded in reality. But this is virtually a straight line from St. Catharines to Hamilton, and the speeds on it are pretty slow. So has there been some advocacy towards getting Metrolinx to acquire this line and doubling up that section at a single track? Is that something we'd be looking at? It took me a while to get the question, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for your patience.
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. So as part of our work, we're not as familiar with the advocacy that's occurring on the GO file, but we do know that those conversations are occurring between Metrolinx. As you know, CN owns that subdivision through, I think it starts at Grimsby, through Jordan, past Lincoln, and those tracks were removed. I do know there have been conversations between Niagara Region, Metrolinx, and CN on the advocacy of whether we can double the tracks and who has the ownership of that. Living in the area, I have been stuck behind those freight trains. It sometimes takes 10 minutes in order to get onto the QEW if you get stuck behind them. So there is a need for an additional track throughout there. I just don't know where those conversations are at, but we can take that back to the team.
I can jump in because I am a part of those advocacy conversations. So it has been a prime focus of the advocacy over the last year and a half coming from the region with respect to GO service is that there is a section of track. And while I do understand your skepticism, I am always skeptical of numbers like that. It does appear that they could add 9 trips both ways each day if that portion of track were purchased by Metrolinx. It would immediately free up the single choke point that exists on that line right now. So that's why that's been the focus. Minister Sarkaria has made positive comments about wanting to try and find a way to open it up. So I would imagine those are the conversations that are being had by Mr. Lindsay and his team at Metrolinx right now.
That's great, but with some more operating dollars, they could offer more frequency without making those improvements. But it would be great to both make the improvement and do the operating
I will say,
increases.
Operating dollars at this point, it is quite literally that single track choke point because as you mentioned, CN owns the rail and so they're prioritizing freight traffic and there's no way to properly schedule scheduled passenger service that wouldn't be subject to massive delays whenever an additional freight line was coming down. But that is the singular focus right now of the advocacy piece with respect to GO.
And these aren't necessarily questions. Maybe I'll just say these for comments when we move the motion to receive.
Sounds good.
Presentation. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When do you feel that the region's transportation master plan will be complete, ready to be published, ready to be put into action?
Through the mayor, the plan is to be complete by the end of 2027. We will be using the plan as an input to the development charges study, so we will have a preliminary list of recommended projects later this year and then finalize the plan into 2027.
Okay, you indicated that you will be reviewing it in 2051. I don't think I'm going to have to worry about seeing it myself, but anyway, like to me, that's an awful long time to review something as important as that. Do you not think it would be wise to, I'm going to say every 10 years,
through the
which
mayor,
we do with our recreation master plan, for example?
Sorry. Through the mayor, sorry for the confusion, the 2051 is the horizon year that we're working towards, not the end date of the review work on the plan. So the work on the plan will be complete in 2027, and it will identify projects and initiatives to 2051 to support the growth that is expected over the next 25 years.
But you'll be reviewing the plan earlier than 25 years, I would hope.
Through the mayor, yes. So our last plan was completed about 10 years ago. We will plan to have regular reviews of the plan between now and 2051, and that horizon year will continue to push out each year so that we have a plan to the future. So we'll always check back on what are the recommendations from the last plan. Have they been achieved? Are they still relevant? Have conditions changed? And then sort of add on an additional decade or two to the end. So our last 2017 plan did go to a 2041 timeline, identified the sort of short, medium, and long-term priorities in that horizon. And now we're reviewing it again, and we have a 2051 timeline.
Okay, and lastly, as you know, St. Catharines went ahead with our transportation master plan. How do you see that rolling into the region's transportation master plan? To me, we worked, well, it took us a long time to get that going, thanks to Councillor Elliott, who 20 years ago, I think, brought it forward. And I think it took us about 18 years, didn't it, Mayor, to get it finalized, something like that. So, we're still working with that. How do you see that being Is it going to be a big part? Is it going to be as is, or are you going to massage it in some way?
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. As mentioned, we're focusing on the regional network, but what we are going to be doing and have been doing is working with your staff, and we did participate also in the St. Catharines Transportation Master Plan as well as the Active Transportation Master Plan. And it's about how we connect to the regional network to the local network and have that continuity within the system. So I know Jill had mentioned that as part of our presentation. I think why we're also here is, we know that St. Catharines, as part of their transportation master plan, a lot of thought and effort went into the active transportation role and how you want to see that within the city of St. Catharines. And so for us, it's how do we incorporate some of those themes within the regional transportation master plan, which regional roads are more appropriate for active transportation, and then which regional roads are more appropriate for goods movement. Because I think in 2017, the transportation master plan tried to be everything for everyone. And so sometimes you have points of conflict. So you're having a cycling network, and then you're having high speeds of 80 kilometers on a regional road for goods movement, and you have to decide, is this more of an important goods movement corridor, or is it more of a cycling corridor? So I think that's what we're going to spend some time from a regional network, is how we're looking at that. But to your original point is how do we incorporate some of the decisions that was made by St. Catharines Council on their transportation master plan and continue it through the regional transportation master plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Phillips. Councillor Kushner. Councillor Kushner? All right, we will come back to Councillor Kushner in a moment. Councillor Mako.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenters, Niagara is often called a car-centric community by design over the decades, and I know some great work's being done now to shift that towards more of a focus on active transportation. So wondering if you can talk about how the views of those who do not drive cars will be included in this process. It could be people who choose not to drive or don't have access to own an automobile. I'm always impressed by Councillor Ratzlaff, who bikes to every council meeting, but he is the exception, not the rule. So how can we make that more common? How will those views be included in this process? My first question.
Through the mayor, thank you for the question. So we are reaching out to all members of the community to provide their views and their input on this. We know that there are people who choose to ride their bikes, people who ride their bikes out of necessity, people who ride their bikes for health. And we know that we need to support a range of trips and a range of modes. You can't, I don't think many people can use one mode of transportation for all of their trips and all of their trip purposes. Sometimes you're only going a short distance, and sometimes you're bringing home groceries or something, you're moving furniture or something like that. So we've got to understand the different reasons that people make trips and the different distances that they travel. So we have different inputs. There's the input that we'll get from the direct consultation. There's input that we get from things like the Transportation Tomorrow survey that tell us where people are traveling and by what modes and how often. There's the input that we're going to get from these types of forums about what's important to individual communities, and the input that we'll get from talking to staff. And then we're also, as part of our model, our transportation modeling, it's called an activity-based model, and it will help us identify where the demand is for those shorter trips that could be supported by cycling. We take all of that information and we look at the different networks, the different infrastructure we already have in place and where those connections are, and determine which are the best routes for active transportation, which are the best routes for goods movement, which are routes that need to support multiple modes. And as Director Morale said, we can't always be everything to everybody on a single route, but we can look at the parallel routes and opportunities to make those connections.
Yeah, thank you, because my hope is it does go beyond recreational cycling towards cycling for daily use to get to work, to get to where you need to go, that it's, you mentioned how that tension arises where you have high-speed vehicles and cyclists on the same street, and we know who's going to win that battle if there's a collision. So obviously focusing on public safety. My second question is just about the environmental aspects of that plan. Will it consider things like shade trees, permeable pavement, reducing the heat island effect? Does it have that almost climate change aspect to it as well?
Through the mayor, it will recognize those things, but it won't get into the level of detail on specific streets and projects. And so, it'll be informed by all of our policies, whether it's things such as the local official plans, or whether it's past planning work or policy decisions on things like climate action and climate change. But we won't get to the design level of detail here. That'll be a next step.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kushner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question I have is, I'm not sure whether it's pertinent to the strategic plan, but are there any major projects in the near future for St. Catharines, regional projects?
Through the chair, one project that we would like to highlight, and we are working really closely with St. Catharines staff, is the Ontario Street Secondary Plan and on the Ontario Street EA. They're both concurrently going on. And we did that strategically with staff here at City of St. Catharines. We knew when we were starting our Ontario Street EA that it was important to understand that there was going to be a lot of redevelopment happening along that corridor. And we tried to coordinate that with planning staff when they were going to be starting the Ontario Street Secondary Plan, which is now back up and running, because there are design opportunities for Ontario Street, especially when we go through that new area that will be redeveloping through St. Catharines. So that's one of the projects that we are currently working on.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Kushner. Councillor McPherson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation. Just two quick questions, I think. On slide 7, it's got where it divides local and regional roads. So on the local roads, you've got bike lanes. On the regional roads, you've got cycling network. Could you explain why? I'm sure we can figure out some of the reason why, but could you explain why you're referring to them in different ways? And does that mean there would be no cycling or bike lanes on a regional road?
Through the mayor, so we, on the regional network, with it often being the higher speed roads, we'd be looking at a range of different facility types. And one of the things that we'll be doing here is comparing the different facilities we have already to Book 18 to ensure that we're meeting the standards, or understand where our facilities maybe aren't at the Book 18 level right now. We use the word network to focus on the connectivity, not to say that we wouldn't have bike lanes or multi-use trails or different facilities on the regional road, but more because we really are looking at that connectivity and where will we be going over the next 25 years to build out that network.
Okay, that's great, thank you. And you mentioned the public, or the presentations to local other public information centers. Do you have times and dates, for specific dates for those? And if you don't, which totally get, how would you be conveying that information to the public and getting as many people out as possible?
Through the mayor, so we have the dates and times for our first 2 public information centers. At each round, phase 1, phase 2A, and 2B will be doing 2 public information centers, which will rotate to different communities within the region. The first round, though, June 9th, will be at Seymour Hanna Center. The PIC starts at 5:30. And June 10th at the Welland Community Center, again, starting at 5:30. Of course, anybody is welcome to attend those. We're just trying to rotate them through the region.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And thank you for the Ontario Street Secondary Plan work.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ratzlaff.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you. Thanks for the presentation. First, I just want to say I don't know, the transportation team or engineering team at the region, when they redid Carleton between Ontario and Lake, they put in those 3 pedestrian crosswalks, and the residents are really happy with those. Of course, there's a lot of kids that live on the one side of Carleton. They have to walk to school now to Harry Tubman, so it's improved, I think, the pedestrian routes there. A few questions. In terms of road allowances that the region requires, what kind of flexibility is there right now with those road allowances? And is there any, like, are you looking at those road allowances and flexibility when it comes to inside city limits?
Through the mayor, I'll start off, and Diana may want to add on. So through the Transportation Master Plan work, we'll be looking at what's required from a capacity perspective and from a network perspective in terms of the types of whether we need additional lanes, whether we need space for additional active transportation facilities, or so on. Some of the criteria about individual roads that would be looked at more through the detailed design work, because at this level we're really identifying what we would like to have and what we would like the network to look at. But we know as we get into that design phase that we encounter some of the characteristics that make our streets important, particularly as we get through downtown areas. And we're going to have to make choices in those cases. So I don't think at this level we'll be defining exact road allowances for all of the roads, but we'll be identifying the kinds of connections we'd want to make, the areas where we would have some capacity constraints as we're moving, as we grow, and we expect the trip numbers to grow. There has been work also done on complete streets in the past, and so some of that work will be restarting in parallel and but separate from the Transportation Master Plan, which will be providing some guidance on road cross sections and things like that as well.
And just to add, we have been working with some area municipalities, especially throughout the downtowns, where we have an ultimate right-of-way that we want to achieve, but recognize there's historical buildings and other scenarios where the way the main streets were built in some of these communities, that you're never going to get that right-of-way. And so you try to compromise how you're going to get traffic through downtowns. And actually, in some of these smaller communities, actually having traffic is a good thing for the businesses because people aren't driving fast. So it's okay to have those pinch points and not have, a 4-lane cross section through downtown. So I think that's something that we will be looking at the Transportation Master Plan. I think as we do the modeling, and that modeling will show us where we need to highlight where we need to have some improvements in that network and what that potentially should look like in future projects through the environmental assessment process.
Okay. That's helpful. My next question, I do think that it's a benefit to, and this is what you mentioned you were doing, is reviewing what streets and what the criteria is for transferring streets from the region to local municipalities. Maybe if you could touch on that a little bit more about, what the vision is for that. I know that there's been some streets in St. Catharines that have been contentious. There's one in Port Dalhousie. There's a few others that I would love to see us take ownership of. But I know that when we were talking about the Active Transportation Master Plan, that was discussed. Like that regional roads, there was sometimes a slight gap in the network because of regional roads.
Through the mayor. So the past criteria for regional roads really looked at connectivity to urban centers, serving major traffic generators, crossing some of the barriers, whether it's the canal or the escarpment, looking at continuity in the network and overall continuity as well. So as well as the traffic volumes. So some of those are the basic criteria that were used in the past, and we're going to look through at those to see if they need to be updated. So maybe just the definitions need to be updated, or if there are new criteria that we need to be adding. So is it actually connecting destinations into different municipalities, or is it contained? I know some examples in St. Catharines contained just within the city itself. And then, so does that make sense to continue to be a regional road? Is it serving that broader network purpose? Or is it one that's maybe a candidate for a transfer? And those, we'll be looking at that. We'll pick a number of roads to look at, not every road in the network, and do that initial screening.
No, I appreciate that. I could give you a list if you'd like for us to look at. Another question I had was the QEW cuts St. Catharines kind of in half, and I don't know if there's any non-regional roads that allow people to cross the QEW. I'm now saying that, and I'm wondering if I'm wrong. But certainly when we were talking about the active transportation master plan, and certainly when I'm biking around town, the QEW creates a problem for pedestrians. And so I guess I just want to make sure that's on the radar, that we're looking at how people cross the QEW, like around the Fairview Mall area, but also going to Port Dalhousie. If you're downtown, going across the QEW, it's a challenge for sure. Lastly, Niagara Regional Transit, we finished our 10-year master plan, and there are a number of routes that, I'd love to see sooner than later become 15-minute, like the frequency on those become more frequent. And I guess a number of those streets are regional roads, and I know that I suspect that you're working closely with Niagara Regional Transit, but I just want to make sure that that's the case, and that when we're planning it out, that if a bus gets stuck in traffic and we want it to be 15 minutes, obviously that creates a barrier, and in the future it'd be great to find ways to make sure that those buses move faster than traffic. So yeah, thanks for being here today.
That wasn't a question. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the presenters, actually, I never even thought of this question, but Councillor Kushner jogged my memory. Since I've been elected, and Councillor Townsend probably got this too, there's been a lot of phone calls about Niagara Street, and I think it's actually on the CAA site as one of the worst city streets. And I was told when I first got elected that that was actually a street that was going to be redeveloped or whatever in this term, and this term is running out, and I was told by our staff that the Niagara region has changed their plan in that, and that's why it's not getting done. Any kind of information on that?
So thank you for the question. I'm not as familiar with the capital planning improvements for Niagara Street, but that's something we'll take back and talk to our development engineering staff.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, thank you very much for the presentation. Much appreciated. Motion to receive the presentation. I have Councillor Dodge and Councillor Phillips. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And that's carried. So I jumped right in there to receive the presentation. We've done that motion. I'm going to give the opportunity because I know Councillor Williamson at the very least wanted to provide comment, and I should have paused in between. So Councillor Williamson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Well, yeah, this is a 25-year strategic plan, so I think in order for it to have some better credibility and to have some context, you got to go back and look at the history over the last 25 or more years to put things in perspective. And there's a lot of people of my generation who have seen the Queen Elizabeth Highway and other local highways, see the increase in traffic, extraordinary increase in traffic. It used to be you would get on the highway at Lake Street and you could be in Stony Creek guaranteed in under 30 minutes. And now it's oftentimes it's a parking lot. I'm going to stick to inter-regional transport, Mr. Mayor, and speak a little bit from experience. And I won't say anything more about our trip to Toronto yesterday, but it was interesting. Maybe GO trains could see their windows cleaned once in a while. That might be a good reflection on things. I regularly took the train to Toronto back in the day, and I'll say in the 1990s, VIA offered 3 return trips here from the Great Western Station to Union Station. The one that I took most often a lot of other commuters did, and day trippers did, was a train that left at about 6:55 or just before 7 o'clock in the morning. It arrived at Union Station at about 8:30. So you're looking at about an hour and a half, and you were in a nice coach. You're in a Bud car, a luxury inner city train, quite a step up from GO trains. I'm not dissing GO trains, and GO train, it seems like we've put our money into, or fate into GO Transit over VIA, but VIA was a real option. And these were express trips. And as we add more stations on our GO train routes, for example, recently we had West Harbor in Hamilton and Confederation added. So every time we add one of those, if we're not on an express route, we're on that milk run that we were on yesterday coming back from Toronto and going into Toronto, it's adding time to the trip. And if we don't have more frequent number of trips and faster ways to get in and out of Toronto and around the GTA, all the investment that we've made in our train station is not going to be realized. So yeah, we've gone from what used to be a 95-minute trip from here to Toronto to basically a 2-hour trip on a less comfortable train. Some other things I've heard complaints about since we're looking at the big picture here, and I've picked on the federal government as well as the provincial government in this because I lament, and I made motions to previous councils in regard to keeping the VIA service here. And, you know, it's also on the way to Niagara Falls, one of the biggest tourist attractions in the world. So we really should have good service from Toronto into Niagara when a lot of our revenue is generated from tourism, particularly in the summertime. The other criticism that's been expressed to me about GO is that it seems like the weekend train schedule in particularly is optimized to shuttle tourists from Toronto to Niagara Falls while ignoring the residents of Niagara. And as we experienced yesterday, the parking lot at Burlington GO Station is full of cars from Niagara. So if we want to get people off this section of the Queen Elizabeth Highway and make it an attractive alternative to driving, we're going to have to do a better job at it. The other one as well is, yeah, I'll stick to that. I've done enough shaming of GO Transit for one session, but yeah, it is critical that we do have good connections to Toronto. It's our provincial capital, it's a financial capital, and we have a lot of people who have moved down to Niagara from Toronto, and if we want to alleviate traffic on the highways, not have to deal with transport trucks and all that kind of stuff, we're going to have a better public transit system. And as well, now we're facing a global fuel, huge inflation in fuel costs, which really puts more emphasis on us needing to have alternatives to the car. Okay, I'll stop my sermon at that point. But I am glad that the region is undertaking this big picture strategic plan. It's aspirational, but sometimes we have to have some aspirations. But we also need to look back at what we had and make sure that we're not slipping, and the fact that we're making progress. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. At this time, we will go to the discussion reports. And I believe the only discussion report that we had this evening was 6.3, Engineering Facilities and Environmental Services, Engineering Construction, P26-060-2026, Resurfacing Program, Budget Reallocation, and Road List. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Townsend, Councillor Harris, and Councillor Townsend.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to, I guess, Director Martuccio. He's here. My question is in regards to this, so the 1.5 million being redirected to the resurfacing program moving ahead. How does the city decide on which streets need to be resurfaced? My question is in regards to Councillor Stevens and I have received a number of phone calls and emails from residents on Lee's side. I'm not saying again that the street has to be resurfaced, but there are sections of it that do need some serious attention. You know, it's been a long time. I'm just trying to get an understanding of how the streets are selected, just so the members of the public understand, you know, how we choose the streets, rather than Councillor Stevens and I just, you know, telling them, well, it's on the list. And, you know, we get the calls back saying, well, you guys have said this for 5, 6, 7 years that it's been on the list. I think it would just be helpful for maybe some of the public to understand and how the city just determines this.
Through the mayor to the councillor, yeah, I'll try to give a brief description on how that's done. Basically, staff picks streets based on the information that we have with regards to condition. And it's based on a risk-based model that we undertake through the asset management plans that we have developed over the last couple of years. It is put through our software to identify the streets that generally they're higher order streets that result in higher risk for disruption to services that get picked first. And then it's also a combination of that with overall condition of the roads. The roads need to hit a certain deterioration in order for them to qualify for resurfacing. Resurfacing is a treatment that we do to try to extend the life of the road. Resurfacing isn't reconstruction of the road. It's a midlife treatment that we try to undertake in the roads to get a longer life out of the road assets that we have. But it is a combination of risk and condition that is taken into account in combination with the funding levels that we, council, approved through the asset management plan.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, to the director. Is it common, I know a lot of the times, especially I'm referring to this one street, where we've gone and done patchwork, and within a year or two, the patchwork just, you know, snow plows go over it over time, and it just, the holes tend to get bigger. Is it common where rather than resurfacing an entire street, which I know is very costly, is it common for the city to just do sections where they rip out certain sections that do need to be addressed and just resurface the certain sections on the street? Is that a cost-efficient way of maybe, you know, addressing an issue like this?
Through the mayor to the councillor, maybe I'll start with that, and if Director Tim Marotta has anything to add, he can add. But yeah, generally where we have localized concerns with our roads, whether it's something from a result of a water main break or utility cut, we would generally go in and do those repairs afterwards. It's a more localized repair to address the concerns as a result of the damage that was undertaken to the street because of other factors, whether it's, like I said, a result of other utilities or just deterioration in a specific part of the road.
Thank you for that. Through you, Chair, to the director, where can councillors or even the mayor's office and maybe the public, where can they get a copy of the list on, so then people can understand, you know, where their street is at? Is this something that can be made public or at least provided to councillors so they can at least have an ongoing understanding of where certain streets in need of repair are at within their wards or across the city?
Through the mayor to the councillor, once the budget for this year is approved, we will be providing council with a memo identifying which streets have been identified for resurfacing this year. That does change from year to year, so it's quite difficult to give a long-term list and where exactly that road sits on the list. Because our roads sometimes are not resurfaced because there's other infrastructure that requires replacing within the right-of-way, and again, all that comes down to funding. So it is something that we review on an annual basis, and decisions can change from year to year. We do take, staff are taking notes on roads that we're continuously getting complaints about, and do go out and undertake more detailed condition assessments on those to determine whether or not they need to be advanced or deferred, and to see whether or not they would fit within our resurfacing program.
Thank you for that. Through you, Chair, I'm wondering, can I make an amendment just to have mayor and councillors get maybe an annual list of where certain streets are at on the list? Yeah, I'm not saying every single street in the city, but there are some that do need attention. It just gives councillors a line of sight so that they can at least go back to the residents and explain to them kind of where things are at. And I wonder if I can add that as an amendment to direction to staff. Just an annual update from the engineering department. If you just maybe write that in to add.
Oh, okay. So that's an amendment that staff report back annually on the prioritization of streets.
That's perfect. That's all I asked, and thank you for bringing this forward, and I'm hoping that some of this money can be used on some of the streets that need attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens, followed by Dodge and Harris.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, to staff. The extra money that's in this report, it comes from, I mean, I'm assuming, but I'll look for you, the director, for an answer. Hopefully that some jobs come in under budget or whatever, and then there's money. Well, I'll let you explain, please.
Yeah, through the mayor to the councillor, the funds that have been identified to be reallocated to this year's resurfacing contract are funds that were not spent on previous years because the work that we carried out in those years came in under budget, and they're remaining funds from those contracts. So they're being moved forward from those resurfacing contracts to this year's resurfacing contract in order to allow us to carry out additional work this year.
So I guess that's actually a good thing if some of these tenders are coming in under budget and under time, I hope, and then there's extra money available for other projects, and it sounds like a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Just for Council's awareness, the Budget Committee does receive a quarterly report of all capital projects that have been tendered and completed, and it's the general rule of thumb that staff come in under budget on almost everything. I think the reason for originally asking for that report is exactly that reason. Unfortunately, the community only ever hears when projects come in over budget, but the reality is the vast majority of our projects come in under budget. Councillor Dodge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the Director of Engineering Facilities and Environmental Services. For this report, this would just be for city streets, correct? That regional roads aren't included in any of this resurfacing?
Through the mayor, the councillor, no, the funds are for streets that are owned and operated by the city of St. Catharines.
Okay, thank you. I know this has to still go out to tender. When would we be able to see some roads being resurfaced in the city? What time frame do you think that would be?
Through the mayor to the councillor, staff are currently working on the tender. We're hoping to get it out we are in Q2 of 2026. We're hoping that construction will start in Q3. We need to have this work completed prior to the end of November, generally is when the work needs to be completed by.
And I did ask you this question earlier, and I don't know, maybe you don't have the answer yet, but how many kilometers would this, no, we still don't have that answer, okay. When we're talking about the list, I'm just wondering, because, you know, we basically get the calls for both regional and city streets that are, you know, in need of repair. Is there any chance that we could get on our list also a list from the region at the same time so that we know what projects are coming up from the region as well for resurfacing? And then when we get questions, we can answer for both the city and the region?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we can definitely reach out to the region to see whether or not they can provide us with a list of streets that they are resurfacing within the boundaries of the city of St. Catharines. Just to go back to your other question, I don't have kilometers, but with the funds that we had available this year, we were looking at only resurfacing about 7 streets. With these additional funds, we're looking at doing about 18 streets this year. So.
Oh, okay, well, that's good news, thank you. Do I need to put that in there about the region, or you'll just take that back?
We can take that as direction to staff.
Okay, thank you.
All right, seeing no other questions, I will look to the clerk to call the roll.
Councillor Townsend.
Yes.
Councillor Harris.
Yes.
Councillor Kushner.
Yes.
Councillor Lindell.
Yes.
Councillor Dodge.
Yes.
Councillor Williamson.
Yes.
Councillor Stevens.
Yes.
Councillor Mako.
Yes.
Councillor Ratzlaff.
Yes.
Councillor McPherson.
Yes.
Councillor Phillips.
Yes.
Councillor Miller.
Yes.
And Mayor Cisco.
Yes.
And that's carried.
All right, there are no motions this evening. Are there any notices of motion? Councillor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to follow up on the event you were at Walker's Creek, where we had 150 trees planted in commemoration of our anniversary. I'd like to direct one that would approach FCM to begin a plan where they would develop an anniversary tree planting program for municipalities throughout Canada, and maybe we could apply for that too. I don't know if Councillor McPherson could follow up with that.
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Wonderful. So that will be coming forward at the next council meeting.
Thank you.
All right. Committee and task force minutes. Can I have a... Oh, sorry, Councillor Townsend.
Just notice the motion. Councillor Phillips and I will be bringing a motion next council in regards to safe drinking water for Indigenous communities, and I believe there'll be a presentation attached to the motion as well. Okay, thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Townsend. Committee and task force minutes. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the minutes? Councillor Lindell, Councillor Stevens. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. No closed session, so no motion arising from the closed session. Bylaws. We have bylaws A to H to be read a first time, considered and passed, signed and executed by the mayor and the clerk. Mover and seconder, Councillor Miller, Councillor McPherson. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Motion to adjourn. Councillor McPherson, Councillor Mako. All those in favor? Opposed? Let's go.